Back to BYU Sports Nation live in Studio B. Now, Tyler and I sit here and talk about sports. What we didn't do this morning is defend a master's thesis. Our next guest did. Tegan Graham of the women's basketball team, one of our favorites here on campus. Tegan, congratulations on what you're typically known for as your offense, but this morning, your defense. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
What was it like? Were you nervous? And tell us again what your thesis was.
So I'm doing my thesis on the gender inequity in Division I sports, and I did a podcast which comes out March 10th. Which camera to look at?
How can this one right here?
March 10th.
How can people find the pod
on Apple Podcasts and Spotify?
You'll post it on your social, I assume.
For sure. Yeah. So basically, I just go in there and I do my little presentation. It's my research, so I kind of have to be the expert in it. And they ask me a couple questions, then I leave the room and they talk, and it's kind of formal, it's kind of funny. And then I come back in, and they're like, you did it.
What building was this in?
The Brim Hall.
The Brim Hall.
Communications.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you nervous? Did you feel like you crushed it?
Yeah, I was pretty confident. Yeah. I'm very passionate about this topic, and I've put a lot of work into it. So I feel like I am the expert on my research. So I kind of had some confidence going into it.
Where does this passion come from?
I think the idea kind of stemmed from the tournament last year and all the disparities that we saw, with the weight room, the testing, all the different disparities. And then I kind of just going from that, started doing a little bit of research. It's my 6th year as a female student athlete. And I kind of was like, wow, I think I deserve more. And I think, female student athletes deserve more. Let's look at that conversation and let's look at that discussion or that issue.
What did you learn? What do we need to know?
That's a great question. I think there's 3 main sort of tackling points. Promotion, promotion definitely in university areas. Investment. You can't really get something out of something you're not putting anything into. Mm-hmm. And then coverage. There's a huge lack of media coverage of women's sports. In the United States, and especially in regards to college athletics or female college athletics.
How's BYU doing in this space specifically?
BYU is doing a lot better. You talked about deep blues. I feel like there could be a couple more deep blues for female student athletes, especially like Shaylee Gonzalez, Paisley Harding. They've been here 4 or 5 years, and I think people would love to see them. But I think as a whole, especially this year, I think BYU's done a really good job.
Which is a great point, and it's super valid. And we've been super proud over the years of hey, you know what we do more of than most people? Women's athletics, which is awesome. And when I got to BYU, I hadn't really covered, women's sports that much. Mm-hmm. Little did I know I'd become a huge fan of gymnastics and softball. Yeah. And all these sports that the general BYU fan may not cover as much, but hopefully through stuff like BYU TV, we can help in this regard.
Well, it's easy at BYU because women's sports is so dominant. Think about this year alone, how many ranked women's teams were there?
Incredible.
Right?
And still are, right?
Still are.
Indoor tracks, look at us right now.
Yeah.
Right?
We got national champions, we got runners-up, this women's soccer team. So it's kind of easy to be fans of women's sports at BYU, I think.
It's a great point. It really is. There's really no excuse.
There's no excuse.
There's a lot of TV games, and they're good.
And they're good.
The ultimate combo.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't have to be that you're good.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have to be XYZ, right?
Exactly, yeah. But that's where all the promotion and the coverage comes into that, right? Whereas when it's consistent, people will, consistently go to games, or, it's all about creating that environment where, you have that fan experience that's you go to a women's volleyball game at the Smith Fieldhouse and it's rocking, right? That's the sort of stuff where women's sports is going to continue to grow.
I like that. And then Saturday, you probably felt the power of that, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
With the greatest women's basketball home game ever?
Yeah,
with the crowd and the jerseys and the senior night and the stakes in Gonzaga?
Yeah, I think I was more emotional about the crowd than I was about senior night, because we have more games to play. We have hopefully a long season ahead of us. But I just think the crowd on Saturday was insane. It was just I genuinely felt emotional. This is what we should have, been getting all year, I think. That's the kind of level of competition that I think we perform at, and just to have, the Rock there and just a packed crowd was emotional for sure.
When did that hit you?
Senior night for sure. When I actually got emotional was when my twin brother and my mum are here. So when they walked me out, I was kind of like, wow, like this is my last time here, and I've actually never lost in the Marriott Center, so
Pretty awesome.
Wow.
I have a pretty good relationship with that court. So I think that's when the tears kind of were like, okay, now you can cry. Now it's done. You beat Gonzaga by 23. You're allowed a little moment.
You could let out in that moment. Yeah, exactly.
So this year, I followed you guys close. I have 2 daughters. I brought my daughters to the game. Aww. They loved it.
Girl dad.
Yep, girl dad. I have so much respect for you guys and what you've done this season. Historic season, maybe the best season ever for women's basketball. Do you guys feel you get enough respect, or is the AP poll a little off?
Yeah, I feel like that's a constant conversation that's been had with our team, especially at the start of the season. I think people were really upset that we weren't ranked. But I think because of that, our team's done a really good job of kind of almost ignoring that. Like, do we think we maybe deserve a bit more respect? Yes. But is that something that we've really focused on? No. You know, we'd rather win games than be ranked or have a higher ranking.
Everyone pulls motivation from different spaces. Like, you could have used that. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys are like, no, we're veteran enough to not need that affirmation, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And our net ranking's super high. So I think, and that's really important in terms
Top 10.
I think we're 9 right now. Are we 9 right now?
Yes. 9 as of yesterday. I haven't checked it.
Yeah. So I think that's something that we're encouraged by.
It felt like a de facto WCC championship game in the regular season Saturday. You still have 2 games to go here.
Yeah.
At Santa Clara, at Pacific. How do you guys avoid, a loss that could damage you in a way this weekend? These are important games too, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like these could be the 2 biggest games of our season in terms of what we want to achieve in the regular season. So I think it's just focus. I think, every single person on this team in our program, knows what we can do and knows the goals that we have. And I think, we're just going to keep pushing for that and stay super, super focused for this week.
So you guys are arguably the favorite for this tournament this year.
Inarguably.
They
blew out Gonzaga twice. You are the heavy favorite.
We came back. We came back.
You
made it interesting.
Like, unbelievable. What's the team's mindset right now?
Mindset right now is championship. Yeah. I think a lot of people are talking about the NCAA tournament, rankings, all that sort of stuff. But I think in our team, it's let's get this regular season championship, and let's go to the WCC and focus on that. I think, we know big picture, but we're really good at focusing on, game by game, what we need to do to get it done.
It's nice when there's, 5 seniors.
Yeah.
There in the conversation.
There's a lot of oldies.
And there's some payback for Vegas.
Oh, big time. Yeah, Vegas is triggering. But
I'm still bitter about that.
Trigger is a good word for that, because the clock operator didn't trigger fast enough.
Unbelievable.
Gonzaga won on the buzzer beater, and it was controversial.
0.6 seconds, catch and shoot. Yeah, I've honestly never ever watched that shot.
You haven't?
No, I've watched it live, and that's the only time I really needed to watch it.
Too painful.
Well, yeah, it's just sad. Like, why would I watch that again and again? I've had enough people tell me that we got robbed, but what can we do? Like, I can't go and talk to anyone and say we got robbed, give me that championship. So we get an opportunity, though, in a week. So
I think all of Cougar Nation was
crying.
Jill Townsend? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now that what's your life like now that you've defended the thesis off the court? Like,
off the court.
Are you just chilling now?
Yeah, so I still have another class. I have to kind of stay on top of that, get my schoolwork done. But it's now more just like the promotion aspect of my podcast. I've done it. It's an 8-episode podcast. And so...
Oh, it's a series.
Oh, it's a series.
I like this.
It's a series,
okay.
yeah. So it's looking at different aspects of the problem and ending with kind of a solutions episode. And I want to, it's coming out March 10th because I want to push it right before the NCAA tournament. And try and see if we can get a little bit of buzz around it going forward. Because I think the NCAA tournament for this year, especially the women's side, is going to be a lot of eyes, right? Because there's going to be a lot of pressure.
There's the first 4 now and the whole
deal. A lot of pressure to...
Selection Sunday.
Exactly, to remedy kind of the disaster that was last year.
Yeah. No, it was bad. For those who don't know, you guys go to San Antonio. You're in a
Listen
bubble.
to my podcast.
Right? And the weight room is just ridiculous. And this is where I love technology, where it's like you can point out errors and then everybody sees it and can go, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Bring
and
awareness,
then change. Yes, awareness, then change happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's the power of social media, right? It gives athletes, especially student athletes, the control of their own narrative, right? I get to decide how my story is said, and this is the story, right? So Sedona Prince plays for Oregon. She put it out on her TikTok. It blew up, right? And that's kind of the beauty of social media. It gives you that your own personal narrative, your own control to say, hey, this is what's going on. And then mainstream media kind of has to pick it up, right?
Yes, it's interesting because we sit in this space where we're like with you, but also outside of you. We're like like a second tier, if you will.
Yeah.
Because you guys are the first tier, and then like, you know, the Salt Lake media would be third tier or whatever. But it's like, yeah, how do we navigate accompanying you on this journey? And it's like Instagram collabs with you have been a space that, frankly, we've been like, hey, run with women's hoops. They share it. They're super popular. Let's go.
Yeah.
And you guys have been great about it.
And people want to see it. That's the point. I think that a lot of people's argument is always like, well, men's sports gets more viewership because people like men's sports better. But it's like, if you look at numbers, which I have, the coverage, when you cover women's sports, people tune in. So
you're saying more coverage equals more views?
100%. I have the numbers. Go listen to my podcast. It's plain and simple. You put women's sports out there, people want to watch it. That's really informative because, yeah, you just gave the counter argument to the number one argument of everybody, which is, well, it's not as popular. Yeah.
Or not as, the interest isn't as high.
Exactly.
More coverage equals more views.
More viewership.
Okay.
Yeah, it's as simple as that.
It's beautiful.
I'm going to listen to this podcast.
Please
for
do.
Sure. No, seriously. Okay, around March 10th, you said?
March 10th. Yep. It's coming out March 10th.
We'll help you get that out there.
Appreciate you guys.
Tegan, thanks for coming in, and congrats on the master's thesis
Thank you so much.
defense. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tegan.